The first time I flew into the eye of Hurricane Helena to save Dr. Adrian Costa. He was standing on the deck of a sinking research vessel taking water samples, not calling for help, not waving his arms, just calmly collecting data while 40-foot swells tried to tear his ship apart and Category 4 winds screamed at 130 miles per hour. Through my cockpit window, I could see him soaked to the bone, dark hair whipping in the wind, completely focused on his work like the apocalypse wasn't happening around him. Target acquired, I said into my headset, banking the WP-3D Orion toward the doomed vessel. He's still on deck. Is he insane? That's Dr. Costa. My flight engineer Rodriguez crackled back. Insane is his baseline. Get him off that boat before it goes under. I dropped us to 200 feet, fighting winds that wanted to flip us into the Atlantic. The research vessel Poseidon's gift was listing 30 degrees, taking water over the port rail. We had maybe 5 minutes before she capsized. Dr. Costa, this is NOAA Hurricane Hunter, November 4-2. I transmitted on emergency frequency. We're in position for extraction. Get to your highest point now. He looked up at my plane, and even from 200 feet, I could see him shake his head. He held up a sample vial. Like that explained everything. You have got to be kidding me, I muttered. Then louder, Dr. Costa, your vessel is sinking. Evacuate. Now. 2 more samples. His voice crackled through static. Unprecedented salinity levels during eye-wall passage. If I don't document, if you don't evacuate, you'll be documenting the ocean floor from the inside. I brought us around for another pass. I'm not asking. Get your ass to the bridge deck, or I'm coming down there personally. You can't land in these conditions. Watch me. But wait, here's what I didn't know then. Adrian Costa wasn't reckless. He was precise. Every second he spent on that deck was calculated risk, the kind scientists make when the data matters more than safety, the kind of decision that made him brilliant and infuriating in equal measure. And I was about to find out just how infuriating. The rescue took 12 minutes. That felt like 12 hours. We couldn't land. Winds were too violent. So we deployed the rescue basket while I held the Orion in a hover that made my arms scream. Adrian finally clipped his samples to his belt and climbed up to the bridge. When we hauled him into the cargo bay, he was hypothermic, bleeding from a gash on his forehead, and still clutching those damn water samples. You almost died for salt water, I said, yanking off my helmet as Rodriguez wrapped him in thermal blankets. Not salt water. Hypersaline intrusion from deep ocean upwelling during rapid pressure change. His teeth were chattering, but his voice was steady. Data that could predict storm surge intensity with 90% greater accuracy. Worth the risk? Nothing's worth dying for. Easy for you to say. You fly into hurricanes voluntarily. He looked up at me with eyes the color of the Caribbean, that impossible blue-green that shouldn't exist but does. What's your excuse, Captain Morrison? I didn't have a good answer for that. We flew him to Miami International, handed him off to paramedics, filed our incident report. Standard NOAA rescue. Case closed. Except 3 days later, there was a man in a University of Miami hoodie waiting by my plane when I landed from a routine surveillance flight. Adrian Costa, no longer hypothermic, but sporting stitches above his left eye and holding 2 cups of Cuban coffee from Versailles. Captain Morrison. He held out 1 cup. I brought a peace offering and an apology. I took the coffee. It was sweet enough to cause diabetes, proper Miami Cuban style. You don't need to apologize. You were in shock. I wasn't in shock. I was being a stubborn academic asshole. He smiled, and it transformed his face from handsome to devastating. My research partner says I need to work on my survival instincts. Apparently, the data is worth it isn't a valid life philosophy. Your research partner is smart. I sipped the coffee. Perfect, but you still got your samples. His smile widened. Published the preliminary findings yesterday. Nature Geoscience accepted it. The salinity data could change how we model storm surge. So you almost died, and you were right. Being right doesn't make it less stupid. He shifted his weight, suddenly less confident. Look, I wanted to thank you properly. You saved my life. That means something, even if I was too focused on nitrogen isotopes to appreciate it at the time. I studied him in the Miami sun, tall and lean. Tan skin that spoke of hours on the water. Hands that looked equally comfortable with lab equipment and boat rigging. Intelligent eyes that assessed everything including me. "You want to thank me?" I said. "Buy me dinner. Somewhere that's not a NOAA briefing room, like a date." Direct question. No hedging. Unless you're not into guys. I watched his face carefully. I'm very into guys. His Caribbean blue eyes held mine. Specifically, guys who fly into hurricanes to save stubborn scientists. Is that a niche category? Extremely niche. Good. He was already pulling out his phone. "Friday. There's this place in Coconut Grove, right on the water. Will there be data collection involved?" I asked, dryly. "Only if you're into that." The innuendo was subtle, but there. Friday, 7. Don't stand me up, Captain. Hurricane hunters are reliable. I cooed after him as he walked toward a beat-up Jeep covered in marine biology bumper stickers. "So are scientists," he shot back, "when we're not risking our lives for water samples." Friday came with that South Florida humidity that makes your shirt stick to your back within seconds. I changed 3 times in my Brickell apartment, finally settling on dark jeans and a white linen button-down that my sister said made me look Miami hot, whatever that meant. The restaurant was called Bay Shore, built on stilts over Biscayne Bay. Adrian was already there at a corner table that overlooked the water, wearing fitted khaki shorts and a navy polo that showed off shoulders built by hauling research equipment. "You're early," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. Scientists are pathologically punctual. Tides don't wait. He poured me water from the carafe. "You look nervous." "I'm not nervous. Your right hand keeps checking your watch." "Pilot thing." Damn, he noticed everything. Old habit. We're always on schedules. So my hurricane season waits for no one. He leaned forward slightly, forearms on the table. "Can we be honest about something?" "Shoot. This is my first actual date in Miami." His voice was quiet but steady. "I did my PhD in Seattle. Came out there, dated there. It was easy. Here, with my department, the cultural dynamics, my Cuban family, I've been careful. Maybe too careful. The vulnerability gutted me. I came out to my squadron 3 years ago, I admitted. NOAS, pretty chill. Some guys were weird at first, but when you're flying into hurricanes together, who you sleep with matters less than whether you can read weather radar. Can you? There was heat in the question. Read radar. I'm the best pilot in the Atlantic Fleet. Not arrogance. Fact. I can put a WP-3D into the eye wall in winds that would tear most planes apart. I can fly instruments only through zero visibility. I can talk about yourself like you're a superhero. He was grinning now. Is this pilot confidence, or are you actually this good? Little of both. I met his eyes. Are you actually good enough at marine biology to risk your life for water samples? Or was that a one-time lapse in judgment? His smile was sharp and sure. I'm the youngest researcher to ever publish in 3 separate top-tier journals on tropical cyclone-ocean interactions. I've spent more hours at sea during hurricane season than most people spend at their desks in a year. I can identify 60 species of plankton under a microscope and tell you which ones indicate incoming storm systems. He paused. So yeah, I'm that good. Jesus. I sat back. We're both insufferable, aren't we? Probably. He flagged down the waiter, ordered in Spanish too fast for me to follow. Turned back with those Caribbean eyes. But maybe we're insufferable together. That could be interesting. We ordered family-style stone crab, plantains, ropa vieji, too much food. Once we started talking, we couldn't stop. He told me about growing up in Little Havana. About his Cuban grandmother, who thought marine biology was just playing in the ocean, about the first time he saw bioluminescent plankton and knew exactly what he wanted to do with his life. I told him about growing up in Oklahoma tornado country, about watching storm chasers as a kid and thinking I want to do that, but bigger, about flight school and the first time I deliberately flew into a hurricane and felt more alive than I'd ever felt on the ground. You're an adrenaline junkie, Adrian said halfway through dinner. says the man who stayed on a sinking ship for water samples. That was science. That was adrenaline. With a research permit, I caught his foot under the table. Accident or intent, I couldn't tell. We're the same. We just chase different storms. Are you a storm, Captain Morrison? The question had layers. Depends. Are you looking to get caught in one? His foot pressed back against mine. Definitely intent. Maybe I am. The truly shocking part was how easy it felt. No awkwardness, no first date fumbling. Just to people who understood that life was short and storms were coming, and sometimes you had to take the risk. I should warn you, Adrian said after dinner, walking with me along the bay path where Miami's skyline glittered across the water. I'm intense. I work 70-hour weeks during hurricane season. I disappear onto research vessels for days. I will miss dates because a tropical depression just formed off the Cape Verde Islands. I fly into hurricanes, I countered. Sometimes on 12 hours' notice. Sometimes I'm gone for weeks tracking storms across the Atlantic. I smell like aircraft fuel even after I shower. I've got scars from turbulence injuries. I'm not exactly boyfriend material, but you want to be. Not a question. Someone's boyfriend. I stopped walking, turned to face him. Yeah, yours, if you're offering. Adrian stepped closer, close enough that I could smell salt water and sun on his skin. I'm offering? But you need to know what you're signing up for. I will choose my research over comfort sometimes. I will take risks you think are stupid. I will. I kissed him. Right there on the Coconut Grove Bay path with joggers and tourists walking by. His lips tasted like mojito and salt air and something that was just him. When I pulled back, his eyes were wide. You didn't let me finish, he said. You talk too much, scientist, and you're impulsive pilot. Yeah, I didn't step back. Is that a problem? His hand came up to my jaw, thumb tracing my cheekbone. Not even a little bit. The next 8 weeks were a study in chaos management. My flight schedule was unpredictable reconnaissance missions, research flights, sudden hurricane intercepts. Adrian's was worse. He'd text me at midnight from a research vessel in the Straits of Florida. Or called during my pre-flight briefing to say he couldn't make dinner because of reef monitoring. Emergency had come up, but we made it work. Early morning coffee before his lab meetings and my weather briefings. Late dinners when we both made it back to shore at reasonable hours. Text messages at absurd hours. You flying today? Category 2 just upgraded to 3. Gonna penetrate the eye wall, stay safe up there. You two down there. You're distracted, Rodriguez said one morning as we ran through pre-flight checks. What's his name? Akirian. He's a marine biologist. Rodriguez paused, maybe half a second. A scientist. Damn, Morrison, you couldn't date someone normal like a bartender? You had to go for another person with a death wish. He studies hurricanes from below. I study them from inside. It works. Fair enough. Bring him to the hangar sometime. Let the crew meet him. That's how Adrian ended up at our 4th of July hangar barbecue. Overdressed in pressed chinos and a University of Miami polo, holding a container of his grandmother's pastelitos and looking adorably out of place among 15 hurricane hunters and their families. So you're the scientist, Rodriguez said, shaking Adrian's hand with excessive force. Morrison talks about you, does he? Adrian glanced at me with amusement. Good things, I hope. He said you're brilliant and stubborn and have terrible self-preservation instincts. So basically, you're perfect for him. I wanted to die. Adrian just laughed. But here's what I remember most, watching Adrian explain. Ocean atmosphere coupling to our meteorologist like they were speaking a secret language. Seeing him help clean equipment like he'd done it 1,000 times. The way he leaned into me when we sat on the hangar floor later and just existed in the noise and warmth of my found family. They love you, I said quietly. They love you, he corrected. I'm just the guy who's hopefully not going to break your heart by getting swept off a research vessel. Are you? Going to break my heart. He turned to look at me, and in the hangar lights his eyes were more blue than green. I'm in love with you. I think I've been in love with you since you've threatened to land in impossible conditions to personally drag me off that boat. And that terrifies me because I don't know how to do this without screwing it up. The hangar noise faded. You're in love with me? Catastrophically, yes. I kissed him in front of my entire squadron. And someone whistled, and someone else said finally. And Adrian made this surprised sound against my mouth before kissing me back like I was air and he'd been underwater too long. I love you too, I said when we broke apart. Even though you're a workaholic with a martyr complex about data collection. And you're an adrenaline junkie who flies into Category 5 storms for fun. For science, I corrected. Same as you. Yeah. He pulled me closer. We're kind of perfect, huh? Perfectly insane, Adrian agreed. And kissed me again. September hit Miami like a furnace-peak hurricane season. The Atlantic churning out storms like a factory. I was on a reconnaissance flight over what would become Hurricane Ivan when the emergency call came through. November 4-2. This is Coast Guard Sector, Miami. The voice was tight with urgency. Research vessel Poseidon's Gift reporting flooding and engine failure. Category 4, Hurricane Ivan bearing down. Crew requesting immediate evacuation. My blood went cold. How many souls on board? 4, including Dr. Adrian Costa. The world tilted. What? Dr. Costa's team was collecting pre-hurricane baseline data. I've intensified faster than predicted. They're 40 miles offshore, dead in the water, 6 hours from landfall. I was already banking toward the coordinates. Tell them we're coming. Tell Adrian, my voice cracked. Tell him to hold on. The flight to Poseidon's Gift was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Category 4 winds buffeted us. Rain so thick the ocean disappeared. Through breaks in the clouds, I could see at the research vessel. Listing heavily, waves breaking over the deck. And there was Adrian. Helping his crew into survival suits, calm and focused like this was just another day. Adrian. I transmitted on emergency frequency. We're in position, Jake. His voice cut through static. What are you doing here? This is Coast Guard jurisdiction. I don't give a damn about jurisdiction. I was screaming now, fighting to hold the plane steady. Get your team to the highest point. We're dropping the basket. Now. The equipment. Screw the equipment. Adrian, please. I couldn't finish. Couldn't say I can't lose you over an open channel with my whole crew listening, but he heard it anyway. Okay, we're coming up. We extracted his team one by one, 3 researchers, then finally Adrian. When we hauled him into the cargo bay, he was soaked and shaking and alive, and I wanted to kill him and kiss him and never let go. You went back? I said, my voice raw. After I saved you the first time, you went back to the same damn ship. It's my job, Jake. Your job almost killed you. Again. I was yelling now, professional composure shattered. Do you have any idea what it's like to fly into a hurricane knowing the person you love is dying in the water below? The cargo bay went silent. My entire crew pretending not to listen. Adrian stepped closer, put his hands on my chest. The same as staying on shore, knowing the person you love is flying into the eye of a Category 5. He said quietly. We both take risks, Jake. That's who we are. That's why this works. It doesn't work if you're dead. Then we both have to stay alive. His forehead touched mine. Deal? Deal, I whispered, knowing it was a promise neither of us could guarantee. Asterisk hurricane season ended in November. The Atlantic went quiet. Adrian's research vessel got repaired and renamed Poseidon's Gift 2. My squadron completed 43 reconnaissance flights with 0 incidents. We were both still alive, still together, still insane. I got an offer, Adrian said one morning over Cuban coffee in his Little Havana apartment. NOAA wants me to develop a hurricane aircraft ocean data collection system. Real-time sampling during reconnaissance flights. I looked up from my weather charts. That would mean I'd be flying with you. His Caribbean eyes were bright. We'd be studying the same storms, together from inside the eye. That's the worst idea I've ever heard. Or the best. He came around the table, straddled my lap. To storm chasers, one plane. What could go wrong? Everything. I pulled him closer anyway. Absolutely everything. But we'd be together. Yeah. Kissed him, tasting coffee and salt, and home. We would. 6 months later, Dr. Adrian Costa became the first marine biologist embedded with NOAA's Hurricane Hunters. We flew into 15 storms that season. Collected data that changed how we understand ocean-atmosphere coupling. Published for papers. Fell more in love. People asked us if it was crazy working together, flying together, chasing danger together. Yeah, I always said. But the good kind of crazy. The best kind, Adrian would add, and reach for my hand. We were storm chasers. Both of us. We'd found each other in the eye of a hurricane and decided to stay there. Right in the comm center where everything was possible and nothing was certain except us. That's not a bad story. That's not bad at all.